Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Experts, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, first of all, I want to thank everybody for all the letters you're writing, the ideas you're giving us about the types of experts you'd like on the show. Keep those letters coming in. You are going to love today's shows. Our first expert has been with us for over a year. She has got the perfect personality to be involved in the type of law she's involved in. She has the greatest story of how she got started. So let me introduce you to our estate planning attorney Debbie Baker. Good morning.
Good morning.
Attorney.
See, he's here. He's right here.
Oh yeah, there he is.
He heard your voice. He heard your voice and said, "Oh, it's Steve-O. I need to be here."
And my Sophia has the same color cat.
Same color.
And his name is Ralph. So
okay.
I was telling Debbie this morning how my Sophia loves cats, and she was really upset because one of her cats jumped up on her lap during the show. I said, Debbie does it all the time. It's not a big deal.
Nope. He must have heard your voice and go, "Up, must be time. Must be time."
Beautiful. Debbie, I think you've got the most amazing story of how somebody became an attorney. Can you share that with us?
Sure. I thought about becoming an attorney when I was truly younger than 39, because for those who haven't seen me, I've been practicing 39 for a lot of years, but and it didn't work out. I always had a wonderful excuse. I couldn't afford it. I didn't have whatever. But I became a person of faith in 1884. No, I don't think so. 1984. And in 2008, while I was trying to figure out, do I continue with my prior career or whatever, God told me to go to law school. And then I think the most interesting thing about that, after I started breathing again, was how easy it was. Like, not easy, like a smooth sailing, but just it was the right time, it was the right place, and nothing was going to deter me from it. And it took 32 months before I got started with taking LSATs 3 times and stuff like that. But it was all fun. It was fun. And then in law school, I started in law school in 2011, the summer of 2011. And I graduated in 2015, and it was glorious. I'd never used the word before, but I forgot I loved being in a classroom. And I wasn't there for a 40-year career because I really wasn't 39, and I wasn't, going to be a judge or whatever. So I had the best time. I had the best time, and chose this area of work because I never want to be in a courtroom. As much as people tell me what a great arguer I am, and how they missed getting to see me in a courtroom, and as much as I was told that it wasn't about getting angry in a courtroom, I said, no, I'm not doing it. So estate planning, wills, trusts, probate is a great place to just continue God's walk and be of service.
Okay, so let me ask you. So you became a believer later on in life.
Right.
And how much longer did you become an attorney after you became a believer?
Oh, that was 37 years. 30.
Okay.
No, 27 years. 27 years.
So God opened the door for you.
Yeah. And And once he did, like I said, it wasn't that it was simple or without angst, but it was not. It was. That's where I was going. So once it was determined that that's where I was going, then the rest of it fell into place, regardless of the obstacles, such as my not knowing how to fill out an application, or giving too much information on an answer to a question, or things for which I got coaching. Yeah, and it was.
Did the coaching help you in now that you're since you're an attorney?
Yeah, the coaching helps a lot. It helps for those of you who haven't heard me before, I was executive coach, like a life coach, for want of a better word, asking people difficult questions and having them, make difficult choices. And it helps a lot. It helps in what I've learned about how to ask a question so somebody can hear it without it being threatening. Without them feeling threatened by me. The question might be threatening, but it's not coming from me. And just help them walk through choices that they really need to make to move on with getting their life in order. So right now, this morning, I reviewed a piece of paper from a friend of mine who I saw on Saturday, and we're going to have a meeting on Thursday. And he names, for the document that people do, which is the HIPAA waiver, which allows people to talk to doctors, he named only 2 of his 4 sons. And I think he may have done that because he had named the other 2 sons in a different document. And when I speak to him, I say, I think you might want to name all 4 sons, because this is just giving them access to the doctor. This isn't letting them make decisions. And I don't know that you want to keep any of them out of that. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think he left the other 2 out intentionally so much as he wanted to be fair, which is what a lot of people run into. They want to be sure that all of their children are somehow involved, which I can get. I don't think it's always wise, but I do think on the waiver to speak to a doctor, I think it's pretty easy to include everybody. But that's that kind of thing. The attorney who did it may have never asked him. And I've learned, you and Sophia could have 6 kids and you only want 1 of them to make decisions, or 2 of them, but you're more than willing for all 6 of them to be able to speak to a physician. Not that the physician would be happy with that necessarily, but you're willing to let them talk to the physician. So it's that kind of thing where the coaching comes in. Pip, you are blocking the camera. Yep. All right. Come on.
Debbie, you and I are both believers. And I think before we really get into the show, I think we should all make sure that we pray for the people in Israel. What's going on there is it's so sad. And we just need to keep them in our prayers, because as rough as it's been, I think it's about to get rougher. But I know that God's hand's in this, and things will work out well.
Well, I agree, and I think we need to be sure that we pray for everybody over there.
Yes.
I mean, all sides, all people. It's horrible, but yes, I agree.
Okay. So
what's the frivolous question you have now after that heavy moment? Right. What's the question, Steve?
My question is, well, you are an estate planning attorney.
Right.
So let's kind of start off with the basics. What are some of the basic steps to getting started with estate planning?
Well, I don't know that this is like necessarily on any list I have, but I think the first thing is somebody has to determine that it's time. You have to determine that it's time. For whatever reason, a lot of people determine it's time because they've lost somebody and who didn't have it in order, and they were left with a mess. But the first step for me in terms of what I talk to people about is you need to pull together everything you own, meaning it's not like putting it all on one desk, but looking at finding all the paperwork that you have for this bank account or this bank account or this IRA or whatever, or your home or your life insurance or anything that somebody, when you pass, will have to collect and aggregate to distribute, or when you have somebody who has the right to make financial decisions for you while you're alive, that they have easy access to it. But one of the things I've come up with consistently, and I'm going to change my practice in terms of my admonition to my clients, if that's the right word, is people know that they've appointed beneficiary, and we've talked about this. If you have any liquid asset, whatever that looks like, money of any kind, in whatever amount, and you haven't named a beneficiary, then you've set your estate up for having to go to court after you pass so somebody can distribute it. But what I've found consistently, and I don't think I'm guilty of this, but I might be, I have to go check, is that people are convinced that they have appointed beneficiaries, but they don't have any idea who they are. And I've come to believe that's a big oversight, because it doesn't seem that if I go into the bank to appoint a beneficiary, that they give me a copy of that form. They keep it, but I don't necessarily have it. And I've come to believe that I should have that for the benefit of the person who's got to see that everything gets done, so that they can notify, if I've left you as a beneficiary on something and you don't know it because you don't have to, but the representative of my estate can call and say, Steve, just so you know, I'm going to get you a copy of the death certificate. You can go to so-and-so bank and that money is yours. And then also you don't have to think about it because you've got it. But you need to collect your inventory for the possessions and stuff like that, the possessions and the money. And then you need to figure out, who do you want to have represent you? That's not an easy question necessarily. You may have very responsible children in terms of you trust them with your money, but you wouldn't trust them with a doctor because they're afraid of them, or vice versa. So you need to look at that. You need to look at, if you have life insurance, do you have enough? Depending upon your age, you can get more, but without it being expensive. But if you have families, I learned this early on, just a brand new attorney, was stay-at-home spouses, male or female, who that's their job. They're the homemaker. They're raising the children in terms of primary. They don't have life insurance because it doesn't occur to the working spouse that they need it. But oh my gosh, if you lose a homemaker, it's not who's gonna cook meals, or who's gonna get the kids to school, so there are countless little things that, with a good template, like a planning worksheet, you can think about. But it's pulling all that stuff together, so then when you go meet with an attorney, you're better able to have the conversation.
Debbie, I cannot even fathom somebody not having a plan. I just imagine you have so many things in your head. You have this long checklist of things you need planning for that people would not even think of. Like if they're trying to handle this themselves, you have this big checklist, and everything on there is so important. And that's why I can't even imagine someone not having a plan.
Okay, so well, yeah, but how old were you when you got your first plan?
I was 27, 28, because my brother is an attorney. But if he hadn't been an attorney, I wouldn't have done the planning then.
Okay. Were you single or married at the time?
I was single.
Okay, so you were single, figuring you had nothing. So why did you need a plan? Which is the general thing with a single person of that age, except that they're wrong.
I didn't even have a will until my brother really got on me. Because, when you're young, you think uh, nothing can hurt you. You don't think about death at all. I mean, look at Matthew Perry yesterday, 54 years old. I mean, did you think he thought he was going to pass away yesterday? Especially the way he did it. You never know.
You never know. So the thing is that when we're young, we're immortal.
Yes.
Okay. So when we're young, like somebody your age when you first started, you hadn't amassed anything that you would look at wealth. We've talked about this before. People hear estate and they think you have to have wealth. You didn't have a family. I mean, you had a sibling or siblings, but you didn't have a wife or children. So
right.
That's when people begin to think about it. The challenge is, for anybody watching or listening, the challenge is if you have people in your life who have just turned 18 or young adults, they need their own plan because you as their parent can do nothing for them anymore. That's pretty terrifying. If you've got a kid at school and they're sick, the doctor should not talk to you. They should not talk to you without a document signed by your child. And if you think that you're paying for college and you call their professors and get information about them, you cannot unless that 18-year-old, if they're still 17, the teachers can talk to you. But once they pass 18, they can't without your children's consent. So, and there's no reason for anybody to know this at all until they have a brother like you had who said, you're going to do this and just sign it. And I don't care who you appoint. And because I'm not going to leave you alone about it. And you listen, as opposed to telling him to go jump in the lake and you were a big boy and who the heck did he think he was? So for me, part of my passion about this is giving people information that there's no reason in the world to know. You could have an apprentice in your business, you and Sophia, who thought that they should know a lot of things, but they're brand new. Why should they know them? I mean, why should they? Right. So for me, it's very much the same thing. The people who are not the most fun to work with, but the most interesting to work with are people who know they should be doing it and are avoiding it for some reason. The people who have no idea that they should be doing it are just wide-eyed because it's like somehow the atmosphere should have taught them that they've reached a certain stage in their life and they need these kind of things. They get the idea of life insurance for whatever reason. And I really think some of it has to do with it says life. And people think estate planning is all about dying, which it's not. Most of it's about taking care of you while you're alive. And then it's not listening to your friends and neighbors who say, yes, you need this, or no, you don't need that. I've had countless people call and tell me, I need a trust. And when we talk, I say, well, you don't need a trust. I mean, we could do one, but you don't need one if we do all these other steps. Or the friend who's appointed 2 sons and 2 sons, he has come to a point where he wants a trust because he's got grandchildren. And if his children are all way into adulthood, but he's got grandchildren. So if he wants to be sure that some part of his estate gets to his grandchildren, then he needs to do a trust so he can do that. But there's no reason for people to know these things. And for those who are listening, watching, you got the greatest things are the 3 greatest reasons not to are you don't own anything, which is not true. What's the second one? Oh my gosh. Oh, it's too expensive when they don't know that.
Right.
They don't know that. It's a frame of reference, and we all have frame of references for there was a day we wouldn't have bought this car, but now we bought one that cost that much money, whatever that much money means. And then once they have that frame of reference, when somebody says the car is going to be this much money, they go, oh, that's not too bad. or they think they're going to die as soon as they do it. And I've got 3 or 4 people out there who keep avoiding it because they're sure they're going to die as soon as they do it.
Debbie, we just got 2 texts in. It's amazing. 2 different people, but the same question. What is a revocable trust?
Okay. A revocable trust is one that you do while you're living, and you are the owner of it. You're the grantor, so you're the one who's creating it, giving it whatever assets you're giving it. And you're the beneficiary because everything remains yours as long as you live, and you're the trustee. So you can change that trust at any single time. You can dissolve it, you can modify it, you can add to it, you can do anything you want with that as long as you're living. So if you're a single person and you have a trust, which sometimes is advisable, again, if you've got people you want to have your assets, as soon as you die, it becomes irrevocable. But which means whoever you've got taking it over cannot change anything in it. But as long as you're alive and you're in charge, you can do anything you want with that trust as long as you're living. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Do you like revocable trust?
Yeah, yes. And that's what I do. There are places for irrevocable trusts where I think for tax considerations and stuff like that. But I'm not working I'm not working with people who have vast wealth meaning 10, 15, $20 million. So I'm working with people who might have a couple of $1 million, but they're not in danger of estate taxes, so they don't have to protect their money for that purpose. There are income tax, there are insurance trusts that are irrevocable. There are a number of different places for them. I haven't had a call for them yet, but so I'm a big proponent of the revocable because I would hate to think, well, let's just say you left a specific amount of money to a child, your child or a niece or nephew, it doesn't matter. And over the years, the child ran into substance abuse problems or something like that. By it being revocable, you can change it. You can modify how that child or beneficiary would get their money.
So what is the difference in a living will?
Okay. That's a confusion that most people have. A living will is about end of life decisions. A last will is about what happens after you die.
Okay.
So that's the distinction. And people will call and say, I have a living will. I don't need anything else. I said, well, help me understand here. So what do you have? And they say, well, I have something that says I don't want life support. That is a living will. But what you're asking for is what happens to your bounty is the legal term. What happens to your stuff after you die? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. But that's
does that help also with probate by having a revocable trust?
Yes. Your assets and your revocable once your assets are in the trust, then the trust takes care of everything at the end because it's owned by the trust. So you could own a home. I don't know if you and Sophia own a home, but if you owned a home and you had a trust, you could put the trust into the home. The trust becomes the remainder beneficiary. So you've passed it outside of probate. If you own a home and you don't name anybody to own that home, when the second of you dies, that's a probate asset. You can't say in a will, my brother and sister-in-law get our home. Won't work. That's probate. Your brother and sister-in-law will have to go through probate to get the home you could have given them in a different way and avoided all of that.
Debbie, this show goes by so fast. Give everybody your phone number.
Okay, my phone number is 813-586-1332. 813-586-1332. I'm only licensed in Florida, but if you're out of state or you have a question for somebody out of state, I will always do my best to answer it as I know it from the Florida law and then direct you to find somebody in your state to answer it. So, yeah.
Debbie, thank you so much. Debbie's with us every month. She's with us the last Monday of each month. Thank you so much. We love you. God bless.
Thanks a lot. So long, Rebel.
And we're going to go to break. When we come back, we have our next experts. Another great show. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. Today is, God, I can't believe how fast this month has gone by. We're on the last day of October, getting ready to go in November. We have a great experts coming up. You know, I think probably when you ask people about attorneys, personal injury is actually the first thing that comes to mind. Whether you're in an auto accident, slip and fall, nursing home abuse, dog bites, truck accidents. And we had so many requests from our listeners and viewers, and it's hard to find the perfect one, the one that fits best with it, really is going to be looking out for your interest. And we finally found one. Amazing, two women, Lauren and Angela. The name of the firm is Zervos and Culta. And we're going to talk about auto accidents today, slip and falls. I have learned so much from them already. They're with us twice a month. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, Steve. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Happy Monday. I'm here alone today. Lauren had a little emergency, so she couldn't make it in. She sends her apologies. So you're stuck with me.
Oh, yeah, we're stuck with you. Wow. You know what? I got to tell you, when you get emails in from listeners and viewers just thanking you for a show, you know you have something special. One lady who wrote in said, I hope I'm never in an auto accident. I hope I never slip in a grocery store. But I got to tell you, if I'm ever injured, those are the ladies that I want to represent me. And I just thought that was so sweet for someone to take the time just to write something like that. And we get people saying, I normally don't do this, write into talk shows, but I want to thank you because now we know somebody. Because, Lauren, first of all, when it comes to injury law, well, did you see somebody on a bus? Did you see somebody in a TV ad? And that's not the way to choose an attorney. You want someone who's good, who's going to be there. I mean, one of the things you spoke about is if somebody calls into your office, they're not going to be left hanging for a week before you get back with them. That's special. But tell everybody about your firm.
Well, Lauren and I have been doing personal injury work for, between the two of us, it's been over 50 years. I've been doing it since 1998. She's been doing it since 1994. And that's pretty much all that we do. So we have really honed in our area of expertise and all of the laws and idiosyncrasies that go along with personal injury work, and had our share of a lot of trial work, which is really important. But, our main office is in Tarpon Springs. We meet with clients in Spring Hill office that we have, St. Pete and Clearwater. And, but, we're able to practice in the entire state of Florida. And fortunately with Zoom now, we can conference clients in and we can see them face to face if they're in Jacksonville, if they're in Miami or wherever in the state, and we can practice within any state. And we've done that. I've had cases in Jacksonville. I just settled a case that was getting ready to go to trial down in West Palm Beach Gardens. So we can handle a case anywhere in the state of Florida.
I think that's, again, it's very special what you did. And Angela, it's so important. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've learned over the years that when you can find a firm like yours that just specializes in one area, in other words, your shingle doesn't have bankruptcy, criminal law, a whole list, that you concentrate in one area, I always find those firms to be the best of the best that just concentrate in one area.
Well, you definitely don't want to go to a bankruptcy attorney for a criminal matter, and you definitely don't want to go to a criminal lawyer for a personal injury matter.
Exactly.
I think that there's a lot of attorneys out there who think that what we do is easy, and far from the truth. There's specialized laws for criminal, there's specialized laws and statutes for bankruptcy, and the same holds true with personal injury law. I mean, you've got to be able to know what's admissible if you're going to go to trial on a case. You have to know what the laws are about what your medical bills, what medical bills the jury can hear about. How do you substantiate your lost wage claim? How do you substantiate your pain and your suffering? There's just a whole lot to know. And if you go to an attorney that just doesn't focus on this, they're not going to have that kind of knowledge.
Exactly. There's a lot of different areas of personal injury. I mean, for one thing, a dog bite. Maybe, someone doesn't think a dog bite would be personal injury, but tell everybody the different areas of personal injury you cover.
Well, personal injury is in of itself the big umbrella. So when somebody is personally injured, so let's say somebody is wrongfully arrested and they're assaulted, that's a personal injury case that may fall under a civil rights violation. There are slip and fall or trip and falls where, for instance, you go into a grocery store and the floors are slick because somebody spilled some oil that you couldn't see and nobody cleaned it up, and you take a really bad fall. So, there's of course your typical car accident, motorcycle accident, any kind of an accident involving a semi-tractor, trailer, that involves a whole lot of expertise as well. Trucking accidents, because there's all sorts of federal regulations involved with trucking companies and their drivers. You mentioned dog bites. Those have become a lot more difficult these days because insurance companies have excluded dogs from their policies. So usually it's very rare that we'll find an owner of, let's say, a pit bull that has an insurance policy that actually covers the dog. So they're usually excluded, and then usually the homeowner doesn't have much to go after. So, but yeah, those are difficult cases. So yeah, there's just a whole bunch of different areas within personal injury.
Last time you were on, we got several emails of people wanting to know, is there a statute of limitations when it comes to injuries in an auto accident?
Steve, yeah. I mean, there's a statute of limitations for pretty much everything. And personal injury used to be 4 years. So if you had a car accident on January 1st of, let's say, 2020, you had 4 years. I mean, in exactly 4 years. There's no approximately 4 years. It's 4 years to the day. So if you didn't have your lawsuit either settled or filed by January 1st of 2024, it would be forever barred. Recently, in 2023, the Florida legislature changed the statute of limitations to 2 years. So it has caused an influx of lawsuits. People are going to be filing lawsuits a lot earlier because they don't have a whole lot of time to wait to try and settle the case. So yeah, it's created a little bit of havoc in the personal injury world. So one of the things that's really important is that you find an attorney that has a system in place to know when that lawsuit needs to be filed, so that they don't miss the deadline.
Can a person still work if they have a personal injury claim?
Well, they can if they're physically able to. And, that's something that we get asked a lot by clients. We say, listen, that's a question for your doctor to answer, because we certainly don't want to tell somebody to go back to work, even though they need to support their families. And then, they've got a significant back injury. And if they bend over and pick something up and hurt themselves, we certainly don't want to bear that sort of responsibility. So that's really a question for their doctor, and whether or not the doctor thinks that based on their injury and what specific work that they do, whether they can continue working or not. Sometimes people are put on light duty for a number of weeks to see if they improve. Sometimes if they have surgery, the doctors will tell them you can never go back to this type of work. Sometimes they can always go back to work, if they have a desk job or something like that. So it all depends.
If I were in an automobile accident, I would not know, and I felt like, say I have lower back injury, I would not know who to contact or where to take my car at. Do you help your clients in that area?
Well, usually the insurance companies handle the property damage, and Lauren and I have always assisted our clients in helping get their cars, get the best repairs for their cars, or if it's a total loss, we make sure that the numbers are fair, that the insurance company gives them fair compensation. But they're able to take their car wherever they want to get fixed. And we tell the clients, don't let the insurance company tell you where to take the car. You take the car where you want to take it and you want to get it fixed. And so clients usually handle that. In terms of medical care, sometimes most of our clients, will have a primary care doctor already, and we'll tell them, that's a good place to start with your primary care doctor, because we're not doctors.
Right.
So, we certainly don't want to tell people where they should and shouldn't go. But, sometimes clients don't know where to start, and we'll give them a list of some potential doctors within the area based on their injury. And once they've established with that doctor, the doctor takes it from there and decides what that client needs.
So if I retain your firm, I don't have to talk to the insurance companies. Is that correct?
You don't, and you probably shouldn't. And the reason is because this is a really hard to believe and hard to swallow. But here's what the insurance companies are doing these days. And I'm not going to name any names, but you'll see their vehicles driving around on the road. They find out, they get notice that, one of their drivers hit somebody and it was a big accident. So the insurance company will send one of their drivers out to one of our clients' houses, if they don't know we're representing them, of course. And they'll go to the house and they'll meet with the person that's hurt, and they'll say, listen, your insurance company is only going to cover 80% of your medical bills. So I have a check from our insurance company for like $2,500 to cover that 20% that you're going to need. So this is going to be for your medical expenses. And of course, the injured client, of course, thinks, well, that's great. That'll help me with my medical expenses. But the problem is that check usually says on it that it's a full and final complete settlement of their injury claim. And so if they were to cash that check for $2,000 or $2,500 or whatever it is, their case would be over. So it's never a good idea to meet with anybody from an insurance company, and it's never a good idea to speak with anyone from an insurance company until you've spoken to an attorney and you know what your rights are. Because they're not your friend. I mean, they're not looking to help you. They're really not. I mean, we're all victims to increasing rates for homeowners insurance, our car insurance. There's this huge discussion in the Florida legislature this March of 2023. And they were saying, we need to lower the premiums for car insurance. And the way we need to do that is we need to change the laws. We need to slow down these lawsuits. We need to help get rid of some of these lawsuits. And we need to change the laws to do that, to bring down the insurance rates. Well, they changed the laws and they're completely favorable to the insurance industry. And guess what?
Years.
The car insurance premiums are higher now. We're 7 months later, they're higher now than they've ever been. So it ended up really being a complete farce.
Yes.
And it makes our job so much harder. It really does. I mean, and it's just
If someone calls your office, Angela, and they want you to represent them, do they meet with you or an intake person?
No, always. They always meet with either myself or with Lauren. And sometimes people want to do it by Zoom. Sometimes they want us to come to their house. Sometimes a family member says, look, they're in a rehab center. Can you come here? We'll do that. But they need to meet with the attorney, because a runner or an investigator that you can hire for $50 to sign up isn't going to be able to answer legal questions. The only one who should be answering legal questions is a lawyer. And the people who want a lawyer want to meet the lawyer.
I knew the answer to that. Just wanted people to hear that. It's so important that if you go with Lauren and Angela, that they are going to sit down with you. And I'm not putting down, these firms that have intake, but it just, I want somebody who's going to be representing me, sitting down with me, telling me what my rights are and my chances are. And I'm so glad that you handle your clients that way, Angela.
Yeah, well, that's something that we're really proud of. We're a boutique firm. I mean, we don't have, tens of or 20 different lawyers working with us, and we don't have thousands of new cases coming in a month. But we're able to, because we're a boutique firm, we're able to give that specialized attention to the clients because they deserve it.
I got to tell you, I don't know if you remember me telling you, but I have actually been hit by another car that took off. Now, what do you do in that case if you didn't get a license number, or if the person that hits you doesn't have insurance? What are your rights then?
That happens. The hit and run doesn't happen all the time. I mean, usually most people are afraid of running because that brings its own new criminal charges. Leaving the scene of an accident is an actual criminal charge. So that doesn't happen a whole lot, but it does happen. I mean, a drunk driver does that and then takes off. What happens to the injured person, to the client? Well, they come to us, and first thing we ask them is, can we see your car insurance policy, your own policy? And they say, well, why is that? And we tell them, well, we want to see if you purchased uninsured motorist. And they'll say, well, what is that? And we tell them, well, that's the type of insurance that basically steps into the shoes of an uninsured driver that hits you or a driver who takes off. So it's an added protection, added coverage that you buy when you purchase your car insurance, and then it would protect you and provide you with, compensation for lost wages, for your medicals, for your pain and suffering, if you get hit by somebody who either had no insurance or, like you said, who fled the scene. Unfortunately, most people do not buy it, and they don't buy uninsured motorist because, one, it comes at a premium, right? It's not free. And two, I think that there is a sense from people that, well, I'm never going to need that, or do I have to buy it? Is it required? I asked my agent said, I don't need it. I spoke to the insurance company on the telephone, and I said, do I need this? And they said, no, you don't need it. I'm here to tell you, you do need it, because the most dangerous place you can be is on the roads in the state of Florida. I mean, and if you don't have that coverage, there's an excellent chance that you're going to get hit by somebody who didn't pay for their insurance the month before or didn't buy liability coverage, and you're left with sometimes catastrophic injuries and no recourse. I mean, because we can't sue somebody who doesn't have anything to take. Right. So you get hit by a drunk driver who's driving his 1995 Buick LeSabre. He hits you. He goes to jail for DUI. You know, he doesn't have anything. We can sue him. We can get a judgment against him. He's never going to be able to pay. So what do? You got to have that uninsured motorist coverage. It's the most important insurance you can have next to health insurance.
Who should I see first, a lawyer or a doctor?
You got
if I'm in an auto accident.
No, you got to see a doctor first.
Okay.
You know, I mean, your rights aren't going to go anywhere. Nothing's going to change with what, you know, with Lauren and I. We're not going to say, oh my God, you should have come to us first. If you're hurt, you got to go to a doctor. If you're not hurt, then you don't need to go to a doctor. Not everybody's hurt in an accident. But if you are, you got to seek medical attention first, because that's the most important thing. Because you know what, Steve? No matter how much money you get, you know, it's usually not enough if you're going to live the rest of your life in pain. If I told you I've got $5 million to give you right now, but in exchange for that, you're going to live in chronic pain every day for the rest of your life due to a back injury, you're going to tell me, nope, I don't want it.
You know, I got to tell you, Angela, I've said this on the show before, because I don't know if it's a lot, but there's people who think they can save money, negotiate their injuries in an auto accident, try to handle it themselves. My son was one of those people. He thinks he's the greatest salesperson, negotiator, and to save that money, he tried to do it himself, and he got paid, but he said, Dad, I will never, ever try to represent myself ever again, because I know for a fact that I left so much money on the table by not having an attorney.
Well, I would say for the most part that's probably true. I mean, you know, the insurance companies look to settle the claims out very early on, very early. And they do that for a reason. They're methodical that way, because that's the time before people really know how injured they are. That's the time when, you know, they're desperate for money because they're not able to work for a week, a month, or 2 months or longer, and they need the money. So the insurance companies, yeah, that's when people are most susceptible to settling and taking an offer. But, you know, we always tell the clients, if you're hurt, you know, don't speak to them, don't negotiate. You know, they're always going to be there to offer you something. Wait until we know what's wrong with you. Wait till we know what your future is going to be like. Is this going to be a permanent problem that you're going to have? Because if it is, you know, they're not going to offer the client what the claim is really worth. They're always looking to save money. And we just talked about that a few minutes ago.
And you know, it's amazing. A lot of people don't know how you get paid. They don't know that you work on a contingency basis. Explain that to the viewers.
Yeah, well, contingency means, of course, that our payment is contingent upon the client getting a recovery. So if we work on the file for 2 years and we were to go to court and lose, which hasn't happened in 20 years, but and that's a fact. But if we were to go to trial and we were to lose, you know, we wouldn't get paid anything. It's not our intention to lose. We're not in the business to lose. We don't like to lose. I can tell you that. But getting back to the original question, yes, if there's a settlement or a recovery, you know, we get paid a percentage, and all the lawyers in the state of Florida get paid the same. So I don't care where you go. The lawyer is not doing anybody a favor when they say, listen, hey, we won't get paid if you don't get paid. That's the law. So it's usually a sliding percentage. If the case settles without having to file a lawsuit or sue anybody, which is always the goal, the contingency fee is 1/3. And if it goes into litigation where we actually have a court case and a case number and we proceed like we're going to go to trial, the fee goes to 40%. And that's the same for anywhere in the state of Florida. all the lawyers charge the same.
Yeah, I want to bring this up too, because we talk about this a lot on the show. Probably one of the, I don't know if they're the largest, let's just say they do a ton of advertising. And when they actually do their own ads and they come out and say, they tell you how they're different from other personal injury firms, and that you don't have to write them a check until the case is over with. Like they're coming up with something, a special payment arrangement. It's not, it's all regulated. Isn't that right?
It is. It's the fees, and the contingency fee status is set up by the Florida Supreme Court and the Florida Bar. But it is a good thing to tell people if you're an advertiser, because people just don't know. I mean, they get hurt and they think, I don't have money to hire an attorney. So, it is a good thing to tell potential clients, look, you're not going to owe me until the case settles.
And that I understand, but I think it's the way it's presented that they're the only law firm who charges that way, which is not true. Angela, what about, how important is it to call the police if you've been in an auto accident?
Oh, Steve, it's so important to call the police, and it's so important if you can safely leave your car at where it was impacted. If you can safely do that, we always tell people, leave your car where it is, don't move it, because you'd be surprised how many times the at-fault driver has a different version. They come up with a different version. We've had clients who were rear-ended, right? Car comes from behind them and hits them. And then they say, please, please don't call the police. Please, here's my information. And they exchange information. They go their separate ways. Client comes to us. We contact their insurance company, and the insurance company says, time out. Your client backed up into our driver. And it's a whole different story. So it's really important to have the police there. Let the police get a statement from the at-fault driver and any potential witnesses. Sometimes the police take pictures, which is incredibly helpful. And we can question them in a deposition as to what they saw when they arrived on the scene. So yeah, really important to call the police.
I tell you, the one thing I don't like about this show is it goes by so fast.
It does.
Angela, let's give everybody your phone number and especially your website address.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, you can reach myself or Lauren at 727 area code 937-3171, or you can visit us at our website at zervosinjurylaw.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. Even if you just have some questions that you need answered, we're more than happy to help you.
I love these gals. Thank you so much. And you'll be back again with us next month, twice next month, with more Ask the Experts. Thanks, Angela.
Well, thanks, Steve. Have a good week.
You too.
Bye-bye.
That was Angela Zervos. Just incredible personal injury attorneys. That's it for us today. We will be back with you again next week with more Ask the Experts. Stay safe.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.